CEO belittles waitresses. Accent shocking moment when she speaks flawless German at 3 a.m. The hum of the restaurant was thick with anticipation, the kind that wraps around you like a cold sweat. It was one of those ridiculous nights, dark and moody, lit only by flickering candles and the dull glow of the neon beer signs. The CEO, a man who thought he was untouchable, leaned back in his chair, a condescending grin plastered on his face. He had just made a crack about the waitress's heavy accent, laughter bubbling like a noxious gas around the table, drowning out any compassion. But just as the mood turned sour, it cracked open like an egg at the shocking moment when she spoke dark, silky, and absolutely perfect German. Stunned gasps traveled through the crowd. Her voice sliced through the tension with the precision of a butcher's knife. The tables froze. Waiters paused mid-serve, the clatter of dishes silent. There was something almost magical about the way her words floated out, thick and rich like honey, but with an edge that felt razor-sharp. She held herself still, eyes wide. No one saw that coming, not even her. The audacity of it hung thick in the air, and for a moment, no one dared to breathe. Then came the murmurs. Did she just? A hand flew to cover a gaping mouth. Someone dropped their fork, the clink echoing as if time itself had stopped. All eyes turned to her, a mixture of fear and fascination. The CO's face went pale, a ghost rising where arrogance once reigned. He opened his mouth, struggling to find words that wouldn't come. The tables, once so full of laughter, now felt like a courtroom, those seated serving as the jury. There was something deeper at play, something beneath the surface that pulsed with all the intensity of a heartbeat. Who was she, really? Why was she here? Did her life story hold secrets buried beneath the layers of her laughter and charm? As the other patrons tried to piece together the puzzle, a chilling thought froze every heart. What if her accent was the least interesting thing about her? Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The air hung heavy with questions. The CEO pushed himself away from the table, a frown anchoring his brow, an itch of unease coiling at the back of his mind. He was not ready to admit defeat, not now. And as she continued speaking a mosaic of foreign phrases, clarity slicing through confusion, a storm brewed behind her calm demeanor. Something inside her stirred, betraying an unsettling depth. The diners felt it, a tingle racing down their spines. Was she more than just a waitress? With every syllable, the air grew thicker, charged with anticipation. Who would she become once the clock struck midnight? What secrets would unravel? And as the night deepened, the real edge of this story began to take shape. The tension in the room twisted tighter, a coiled spring ready to snap. The CEO fidgeted, sweat beading on his forehead, unsure of how to reclaim control over the evening. His dining companions exchanged nervous glances, their amusement now replaced by uncertainty. Meanwhile, the waitress seemed to transform before their eyes. Something flickered in her demeanor, a spark ignited by the unexpected recognition of her voice. When she finished her sentence, an almost imperceptible smile crossed her lips. It was a fragile moment, a flash of confidence that sent ripples through the room, sparkling in the dim light like shards of glass. The murmurs escalated to whispers, decay of bravado evident on the once boisterous tables. Did anyone know? One patron breathed, half lost in the spell she was casting. Fear morphed into curiosity, feeding on the shadow of who she might truly be. I had no idea. Another diner stuttered, eyes darting back to the CEO as if seeking permission to react. Just moments ago, they had been enjoying their dinner, oblivious and carefree. Now, they were locked in this powerful exchange, pulled into a web of intrigue that transcended language barriers. What is she doing here? The CEO finally managed to snap out, voice like gravel, rough and jagged. The waitress' smile vanished like mist in the morning sun. It doesn't matter who I am, she replied, her voice steady despite the whirlwind around her. What matters is the truth I carry. The weight of her words draped over the restaurant, a heavy cloak silencing all doubt, all laughter. In the charged silence, a voice from the corner of the room broke through. It belonged to an older gentleman with silver hair, his demeanor calm yet commanding. There lies a power in knowing multiple tongues. But what if the true language is one we've yet to understand? The room held its breath, as if the world outside had come to a standstill. The waitress shot him a quick glance, her brow furrowing slightly. Did she recognize him? A flicker of something flashed in her eyes. Recognition or perhaps fear. She shook her head, subtly, but it didn't go unnoticed. What do you mean? She asked, her voice a whisper spun of challenge. Language is only a barrier if we allow it to be. But you, my dear, have cultivated a mastery that could shatter more than just speech. The man leaned forward, a candlelight reflecting in his profound gaze. There is intent behind every word. But words can also disguise truths. Why do you hide? The CEO shifted in his seat, feeling the gathered weight of scrutiny. Enough of this nonsense. We're not here for philosophical games, he spat, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him. Are you afraid? She countered, eyes narrowing, flames leaping in the dim light. What would you do if the tables were turned? If your secrets came spilling out, languages revealed, truths unveiled? Gasps erupted as the power dynamics shifted. Was she threatening him or simply digging deeper into a well of unspoken fears? The customers leaned in closer, tension mounting as shadows danced across their anxious faces. Would revelations emerge from the dark? What could she possibly know more than just a waitress with an unexpected skill? As her gaze swept across the room, every person felt pinned under the weight of her words. And as silence settled like a dense fog, a new question lingered. What lay hidden beneath that expertly crafted facade? The clock ticked steadily toward midnight, each second thick with uncertainty. And as the air crackled with anticipation, a deafening knock reverberated against the wooden door of the restaurant, disrupting the fragile balance of the moment. Who or what was waiting outside? The sudden knock jolted everyone at the tables. Some instinctively flinched, eyes locked onto the wooden door as if it might burst open to reveal some lurking horror. The room felt electrified, pulsating with urgency and dread. Get the door, Tony, the CEO barked, anger and fear intertwining in his voice. His order came out harsh, echoing pathetically against the thick atmosphere. It was both a command and a plea, a desperate reach for control. Tony, the younger waiter who had been navigating the room unnoticed until that moment, stood frozen. He was barely breathing, teeth gritted in confusion and fear. What if it's just someone delivering? He stammered, eyes darting between the door and the gathering company, struggling to grasp the tension knotting his stomach. Just open it. The COS voice shattered the hesitant silence, a command that clung to the air, heavy with authority gone awry. With trembling hands, Tony approached the door, every step a battle against the clamoring echoes of panic. The old man in the corner watched, his expression a mixture of desire and dread, as if he sensed something monumental was about to unfold. Who's there? Tony called, voice barely above a whisper. Another pause, a breath held in anxiety, and then he twisted the knob. The door swung open with an eerie creak. A rush of cold air accompanied a cloaked figure wrapped in shadows, face obscured by the dark hood. I have come to deliver a message, the figure murmured, voice hauntingly smooth. The atmosphere shifted again. Whispers rippled through the restaurant as diners strained forward, seeking to understand this twist in the narrative. The ominous arrival conjured thoughts of forgotten legends, of unspeakable secrets lurking just beyond their reach. Who sent you? The CEO questioned, imposing yet faltering. His bravado faded as the figure stepped inside, revealing more of their form, slight yet formidable, eyes glinting like polished stones in the dim light. The truth, the figure replied, each word dripping with an otherworldly weight. The truth awaits those who seek it, and the truth is rarely kind. The waitress, still standing, exchanged a sharp glance with the CEO, the flicker of shared understanding igniting momentarily. She opened her mouth, but the words remained locked behind her teeth, an urge to speak battling against the layers of her own carefully constructed facade. The room was enveloped in a tense hush, everyone poised at the precipice of something monumental. What was this truth? What could possibly contain such power? "I will not let you," the CEO began, but the figure raised a finger, cutting through the air, silencing him. "Your time is running out, in more ways than one," the cloaked figure said, eyes meeting the CEO's with a steady intensity. "Secrets can only remain buried for so long. Tonight, you shall either reveal them or pay the price for your silence." The waitress took a step forward, her heart pounding. The implications swirled like wind around them, suffocating yet intoxicating. She had to know more. She could feel it in her bones. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and a loud crash erupted from the kitchen. A pan clattered to the floor, sending all heads snapping towards the sound. "What was that?" someone gasped, voice quaking. The CEO's face went pale as realization dawned. All these pieces, the waitressing woman, the figure cloaked in shadows, what had he stirred up this time? The figure's lips curled slightly, not quite a smile. "You're not the only one with secrets here, the night is still young." Just then, a loud bang echoed from the back, more forceful, like a door smashed open, stirring waves of panic among the patrons. Who or what had breached that threshold? And what would it reveal? As everyone turned toward the source of the chaos, a collective breath caught, as mystery loomed heavy, inviting them deeper into the unfolding enigma. The tension in the room snapped like a tightrope underfoot. The cloaked figure stood firm, hood casting shadows across its face, while the patrons stirred restlessly in their chairs. They glanced toward the kitchen, eyes wide, breaths shallow. No one dared to move, caught in a web woven from fear and anticipation. Tony swallowed hard, the sound echoing loud in the stillness. "Someone should check," he whispered, but no one responded. Each person seemed entranced, too afraid to venture into the unknown. The CEO clenched his fists, gaze flitting back and forth between the figure and the door from which the ominous noise had originated. Bang. The back door swung open, slamming against the wall. A figure stumbled into the dim light, covered in flour and sauce, face smeared with panic. It was Maria, the other waitress, her eyes wild with terror. I heard something," she shrieked, breathless. The cloaked figure turned slightly, a sharp tilt of its head, and Maria froze, her voice trailing off. The heavy silence kicked back to life, buzzing with frantic whispers behind the uncomfortable stillness, the tension palpable. "What's going on in here?" Maria finally managed, gasping for air. Her eyes darted around the room, spotting the tension radiating from the CEO. "Why is everyone looking like they've seen a ghost?" The CEO's eyes flicked toward the figure, imbuing the scene with a heightened urgency. "Keep your distance, Maria," he barked, his authority faltering under the weight of fear. "We have a situation. Not just any situation. This is a matter of life and death," the figure said, voice dropping to a chilling whisper. It stepped forward, drawing the attention back, refocusing the room's energy. "And tonight, your lives depend on what you choose to unveil." Maria locked onto the figure with fierce determination, still shaken but fueled by something deeper. "What do you want from us?" she demanded, voice quaking but steady. "Are you threatening us? Do you want money? We aren't in the mood for games." The figure chuckled, low and unsettling. "This is no game. Not to me or to you. I offer a chance to confront your demons. Each of you hides a truth that needs to be exposed or forever tethered to your identities." The atmosphere shifted, pregnant with possibility. A mix of apprehension and curiosity danced in the air. Maria looked at the CEO, who shifted uneasily, realization dawning that the cloaked figure knew more than he had anticipated. "What do you mean?" The CEO stammered, his bravado now wavering. "Those who do not speak are chained to their past," the figure said, as if reading his thoughts. "Each one of you carries secrets that rot from within and fester. Secrets powerful enough to change the course of this night and perhaps your lives forever. Tony felt the heat of shame creep up his spine. He thought of his own unshared truths, the family he left behind, sacrifice shadowed in regret, a decision unraveled in his mind. Was this the opportunity he was waiting for? Mystery is alluring, but the truth is liberating. The figure continued, letting the weight of those words settle. You can choose to embrace it or let it consume you. The clock is ticking, and with each moment that passes, the cost of silence grows heavier. A sudden flicker of light burst overhead, illuminating the room. It was a stark reminder of their fleeting time. From the kitchen, muffled shouts drifted in, words laced with urgency and fear. "Do you hear that?" Someone whispered. "Is someone else coming?" The figure's gaze sharpened. "No, what you hear is a consequence of the choices you've made. It's beginning." At that moment, Maria caught Tony's eye, a shared understanding igniting a silent connection. They both felt it, the rising tide of unvoiced secrets and hidden truths. Would they dare to dive in? And just as the crowd braced for what lay ahead, the lights flickered again, plunging them into darkness. Panic ensued, and in the chaos, a piercing scream shattered the air. What had they awakened? What truths remained hidden in the shadows? The darkness swallowed the room whole. Tension crackled in the air like static electricity, each person frozen in the grip of fear. Then, another scream tore through the silence, followed by the unmistakable sound of shuffling feet and scurrying bodies, desperate to escape the growing shadow. Tony felt his heart thumping in his chest. He blinked a few times, hoping to adjust his eyesight, but the gloom offered no clarity. "Maria?" he called, his voice barely above a whisper. Was she all right? Was anyone? "Stay calm," the cloaked figure shouted, its voice slicing through the chaos, a stark contrast to the rising panic. "Do not let darkness blind your judgment. Fear is the enemy tonight." The words cut deep, sparking a flicker of resolve in Tony's heart. He couldn't let fear paralyze him. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Maria's silhouette, her figure trembling at the edge of the darkness, trying to push away the shadows and the haunting echoes of the unseen. "Maria!" he shouted, stepping closer to where he thought she stood. He could barely make out her features. "We need to stick together. I am here," she stammered, her breath shaky. "What are we going to do? What is happening?" The cloaked figure stepped forward, the outlines of its form somehow sharper against the void. "You must confront your truths. The intrusion of fear must give way to trust. What you carry within can either save you or doom you." A flicker of light abruptly returned. The fluorescent bulbs overhead flickered back to life, revealing faces twisted in confusion and dread. Lots of eyes darted around the room, landing on the figure, now more defined in the harsh light. Suddenly, a voice broke through the chatter, a deep, thunderous boom from the CEO. "What do you know about us? Who are you? What do you want?" His bravado returned, but there was an edge to his tone. The facade of power was cracking. The cloaked figure leaned in, its presence almost magnetic, drawing the room's expectant energy. "I want what lies beneath the surface. All of you. Secrets chains you. Freedom awaits those who dare to unveil honesty. So, who will speak first?" I swiveled toward Maria. Would she break the silence? She shivered and took a tentative step forward. But before she could continue, the sound of shattering glass erupted from the back of the room. Everyone turned, startled. The bartender, a usually unflappable man, stood wide-eyed, cracked liquor bottles scattered around him. It's coming," he stammered, panic radiating from his voice. Fingers trembled around glasses and cutlery. The air grew thick with anxiety. The cloaked figure faced the crowd, dark eyes gleaming. "Your time is short. The darkness knows your fears. Will you confront them or will they consume you?" In the moment, Tony's mind raced. This was more than sharing secrets. It felt like they were standing on the precipice of something monumental. He glanced at the others, desperate for a response, then looked back at Maria. Her expression mirrored his own struggle, fear intermingled with an undeniable urge to protect the truth buried deep Whispers filled the space again. What does it want? Why now? Are we safe? A sudden crash sounded from the kitchen, more aggressive than before, followed by a low growl that sent a chill down Tony's spine. We can't wait any longer, he muttered urgently. Someone has to speak, and fast. The cloaked figure seemed unfazed, confident that they would soon crack under pressure. What will you share? What chains must be broken today? It licked its lips, waiting for the first crack in defenses. And as the growls intensified, a heavy silence fell, thick with uncertainty and the weight of hidden truths. It was evident that whatever lived in the darkness was closing in, feeding on their fears. Do you dare? The figure taunted? Or shall you seal your fate? With a deafening roar that echoed all around, the door to the kitchen burst open a final time, and something unimaginable emerged. Shadows twisted in the dim light, and the room held its breath, readying for devastation. What horror awaited them? What was lurking in the depths of those secrets yet to be revealed? The chaos erupted in a heartbeat. A monstrous figure, eclipsed by shadow, barreled through the kitchen door with a guttural growl that sent everyone shrieking back. The air thickened with the scent of fear mingling with something foul and burned. It shuffled into the harsh light, revealing a grotesque creature draped in what looked like a tattered amalgamation of clothing, the remnants of once human victims. Tony's instincts screamed at him to run, but his feet remained glued to the floor. The grotesque eyes of the creature locked onto him, widening in recognition. It let out a howl that rattled the very walls, a sound brimming with primal rage. The cloaked figure stepped aside, a knowing glint shining in its dark eyes as the chaos unfolded before it. People scrambled, chairs tipped over, and screams echoed as they fled in all directions. In the jostling, Tony caught glimpses of panic-stricken faces. The COS mask of authority shattered as he tripped over a fallen table. Maria's eyes widened in terror, and she clutched at his arm, desperately seeking his protection. Over there, Tony yelled, pointing toward the emergency exit at the back of the room. It wasn't locked. They could get out, but the creature was blocking the way. Keep moving, the cloaked figure commanded, somehow still holding its ground, as if aware the terror would escalate whether they ran or not. Face your truths, before it devours you whole. That moment felt like an eternity as Tony's mind raced. He couldn't abandon Maria. The urgency gripped him like a vice, his heart pounding ferociously as the creature prowled closer, teeth bared in an unsettling grin. Tony had to act fast. Maria, he shouted, snapping her out of her stupor. We need to distract it. You remember that story you told me about your fight back in school? The one with the raccoon? That startled her into motion. Maria blinked, recalling how she once bravely warded off the furry invader, using loud noises and clever movement. She dove to retrieve a bottle of liquor from the countertop. What are you thinking? She gasped as she joined him. I'll create a diversion. Just be ready to run. Tony breathed, adrenaline fueling his thoughts. He raised an empty glass and hurled it towards a far corner of the room. The crash echoed, reverberating in the stillness that followed. The creature snarled, its grotesque attention turning to the noise. Tony seized the moment, sprinting toward the exit, yanking Maria along. They desperately dashed past the writhing shadows, the cloaked figure's voice ringing in his ears, urging them on. Do not look back. You must confront. But how could they? The weight of their secrets felt heavier than ever. Tony's vision flickered in and out, the shadow of the creature looming closer with every heartbeat. He glanced back one more time. The shadowy figure stood firm, seemingly unfazed by the chaos surrounding it. An enigma in the storm. Maria, panting hard, pulled him toward a heavy door just as the creature turned back to them, its predatory gaze drilling into their souls. What if we don't have the strength? She gasped, tugging him closer to the door. If we can escape, maybe we can figure it out later. He shouted, feeling hope and despair collide violently within him. They flung the door open, bursting into an eerily quiet alley, breaths rapid and hearts racing. But still, the fear clung to them like a second skin. The sounds of the monster subsided behind the door, leaving only the thumping of their hearts and the weight of what they had left behind in that room. What truths had they unlocked? What secrets might still be lurking within the shadows they escaped? The cloaked figure's final words echoed in his thoughts. Urgent and chilling, confront your truths, or they will consume you. And as they caught their breath, a chilling growl rumbled from within, reverberating through the door they narrowly escaped. Would this nightmare end here, or was the worst yet to come? The alley was drenched in silence, a cruel contrast to the chaos inside. Shadows danced on the damp walls, stretching and twisting, as if alive. Tony and Maria leaned against the cold brick, panting heavily, their breaths mixing with the cool night air. It felt like a reprieve, a moment placed outside the clutches of the monster, but that was an illusion. The chilling growl reverberated in his bones, vibrating against the edges of his sanity. Did that thing follow us? Maria's voice trembled, barely above a whisper. Her wide eyes darted around, scanning for threats in the darkness. Tony shook his head, but uncertainty gnawed at him. I don't know. The ferocity of the creature's howl still echoed in his mind, like a twisted melody replaying in an endless loop. What had they just escaped? The shadows had throbbed with something malicious, something that knew their every secret. Suddenly, a gnawing sensation gripped his chest. We need to find a way out of here. It won't stay in there for long. He pulled her towards the dimly lit street, every step measured and tentative. The little glimmers of light felt like both a beacon and a labored reminder of their frailty. That as they crossed onto the main street, a growing noise reached them. It was a cacophony, the screeching of tires, the distant wail of sirens. What's happening? Maria turned to Tony, panic seeping back into her voice. The city's alive with something we can't see. He felt that weight again, pressing down harder with each heartbeat. They stumbled past empty storefronts, flickering streetlights casting long shadows that lingered like ghosts behind them. Do you think others are? Maria hesitated, eyes flickering with doubt. Do you think they've seen it too? The creature? They would been out by now. Tony grimaced. Maybe it's just us. But deep down he felt that wasn't true. The streets were too empty, the air too thick with anxiety. Even the city felt haunted, wariness hanging in every corner like a thick fog. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught Tony's eye. A figure in the distance, indistinct and swaying just outside of the light. Tony squinted, adrenaline spiking. Do you see that? He pointed. What is that? I don't know, Maria whispered, her voice sinking into dread. The figure stopped, turning slowly toward them. In the wavering light, its features became grotesquely clear. Pale skin stretched tight over bone, eyes sunken and hollow. They stood frozen, instincts screaming to run. But curiosity and fear intertwined, rooting them to the spot. Help, the figure croaked, voice scraggly and raw. Help me. It was a haunting echo, something almost human but also disturbingly other. Tony moved a step forward, drawn to the plea. Maria, however, tensed beside him. What if it's a trap? Maybe, but it needs help, Tony replied, heart racing. What if it's someone like us? Before he could even process the weight of that thought, the creature from the kitchen re-emerged, bursting through the alleyway with terrifying speed. It barreled toward them, and the world distorted into chaos once more. Run! Now! Tony shouted, yanking Maria's arm just as the creature lunged, its growl merging with the screams of the night. They sprinted, feet pounding, heartbeats deafening. In that frantic rush, Tony caught a glimpse of the pale figure standing still, eyes wide with terror, unwilling to flee. What truth was left behind in that moment? The creature pursued relentlessly, a shadowy nightmare closing in. Where do they even head? What lies in wait at the end of this street? Both the darkness behind and the uncertain light ahead promised no escape. As they dashed onward, the growl grew louder, more furious. What truths were they running from now? Would any of them survive to confront what lay beneath their surface? Just as Maria stumbled, Tony caught her and propelled them forward, the echoes of the city swirling around them like twisted whispers. But death was only a breath away, and secrets hid in every corner. And he couldn't shake the thought, was freedom merely another lie? They tore down the street, urgency fueling them as the creature's growls ripped through the night. Each footfall felt heavy, a heartbeat echoing in the chaos. "Tony, this way!" Maria shouted, veering left toward a narrow side street. Panic crackled in her voice, lending a frantic energy to her every move. He followed, each twist and turn amplifying the dread creeping up his spine. "Where are we going?" he yelled back, unsure if it mattered anymore. They were running blindly, the only certainty being the monster behind them. "I saw a door. We can hide." She pointed ahead, her eyes shining with hope as they rounded the corner. The door loomed ahead, battered and worn, barely hanging on its hinges. With shaking hands, Maria pushed it open, and they slipped inside, breathless and trembling. The room reeked of mildew and decay, an old storage facility tucked away from prying eyes. Crates were stacked haphazardly, casting eerie shapes in the dim light. "Do you think it'll find us?" Maria whispered, pressing against the wall, her chest rising and falling wildly. Tony shook his head, straining to hear anything over his pounding heart. "I don't know, I just don't know." Time stretched, a taut string that might snap at any moment. Each creak of the floor and distant howl amplified the fear that coiled like a serpent in his gut. What the hell was chasing them? What horror had been unleashed on their night? Moments dragged like years, and as the realization of their situation sank in, he felt a surge of adrenaline prompting him to act. "We can't stay here. We need to figure out what we're up against." Maria's expression darkened, her brow furrowed. What if it's not just a creature? What if there's more to this? Tony nodded solemnly, still rattled by that pale figure outside. It was too real. It looked like someone in pain. "Maybe it was another victim," she said, the words hanging between them thick with dread. "What if we're stuck in something bigger? What if no?" Tony shot back, cutting her off, frustration boiling beneath his skin. "There's got to be a way out. There has to be." But deep down he couldn't shake that history bend of doubt. The world beyond the storage space felt like a labyrinth of madness, where every corner held another hidden truth of terror. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the far end of the room. Both froze, hearts pounding in unison as they strained to listen. The creature's shadow might already be lurking, searching for them in the dark. "Stay quiet," Tony whispered, barely even moving his lips. They pressed against the wall, breaths held tight as a second crash rattled the crates. Whatever noise they had made on their hurried entrance had attracted something far worse. And then, through the layers of darkness, something shifted again. The sound of footsteps approached, the rhythm heavy and deliberate. Something was in the room with them. Tension coiled, suffocating and palpable, as a figure emerged from the shadows. His heart plummeted. It wasn't the creature, but a man bruised, filthy, and wide-eyed, looking just as lost as they felt. "Please," he rasped, voice barely audible. "You have to help me before it comes back." Tony couldn't breathe. "What happened to you?" The man's gaze flickered back towards the door, terror etched into his features. "What's outside doesn't just want blood. It wants something deeper, something buried." What hidden truth did that stranger know? And how far would they have to go to confront the horrors looming in their path? As the man staggered closer, the growl echoed in the distance once more, resonating like a haunting countdown, and in that moment, they all knew. There was no escaping the darkness. What lay ahead was worse than any of them had ever imagined. The man's eyes pooled with fear, flickering between Tony and Maria. The sound of their ragged breaths filled the space, mingling with the faint thuds of the creature's growl echoing from outside. What did he mean by something deeper? The words gnawed at Tony as he struggled to think straight. Are you hurt?" Maria finally asked, inching closer to the stranger despite her instinct to keep her distance. The man looked like he'd been through hell, sweat mingling with dirt across his forehead. He shook his head violently. "Not like that. It's what I've seen. What it did." He fell to his knees, pressing his hands against the floorboards like he was trying to anchor himself to reality. The dim light caught a glimmer of something silver in his grip. "Show us," Tony said, an urgency twisting in his gut. Whatever this man had to reveal could be the key to their survival. The stranger held out his hand, revealing a tarnished locket, barely distinguishable through the grime. Came for me. After I found this. It needs more than flesh. It's searching for something it lost. Maria took a step closer, peering into the locket. What do you mean, searching? A rumble filled the air. The creature was coming closer, its growl like thunder in the night. Because it believes I have it, he gasped, trembling. Whatever it is, I've never seen anything so evil. It wanted me to give it back. Back? To what? Tony demanded, feeling sweat trickle down his spine. They were running out of time. I thought it was just a rumor. The man continued, barely keeping his voice steady. A legend about lost souls, forgotten things. But they are real. They're hungry and they'll kill anyone who gets in the way. A crack resounded from the door. The lock shuddered under the weight of whatever lurked outside. Listen to me, the man pleaded, desperation tightening his features. We can't just sit here. It finds your past. It clawed through mine. If we don't confront it, it will drive us insane, piece by piece. Maria's eyes widened, a realization washing over her. The figure I saw, it wasn't just a creature. It was someone who stopped. Tony interrupted, fear slicing through his thoughts. We need a plan. Can't just roam free. We have to face it. No, the man snapped, eyes wild. You don't understand. You can't. Whatever here, it's not just about surviving. If it finds us, it will unleash the darkness in you. You'll never be the same. You'll lose yourselves to it. The room fell silent save for the faint tread of the creature nearing their hiding place. The stakes were climbing, but the knowledge they needed to confront what lay ahead was shrouded in mystery, growing heavier with every heartbeat. Suddenly, the locket slipped from the man's fingers, clattering onto the floor. In that split second, lights flickered, shadows danced higher. The ground shook as the door splintered under the creature's force. Move! Tony shouted, his instincts kicking in. We have to find a way out. As the door burst open, a monstrous figure filled the threshold. A grotesque blend of man and nightmare. Its eyes glowed with an unnatural hunger, and it howled, echoing deep into the unending nightmare. And then the world exploded around them. What had they awakened? What darkness lurked behind that door? As they plunged into chaos, one truth hung over them. They'd have to confront the depths of their fears to escape, if escape were even possible. Run! Tony yelled, but his voice barely pierced the cacophony. They mustered what strength they could, hurtling into the unknown, knowing that each choice they made from here would only bring them closer to or further from the truth that could decide their fates. But what if the truth was worse than their fears? The chaos engulfed them, thunderous and unyielding. Shadows crashed against the walls like a wild storm, the creature's grotesque figure looming in the doorway, blocking any chance of retreat. Screams echoed in a twisted symphony as Tony felt the pull of instinct fight or flight, but there was no time to think. They plunged into darkness. Where to? Maria screamed, her eyes glistening with terror. The heaviness of despair pushed against them like an unseen force. We can't just run. Find a way to face it. Tony shouted back, his voice hoarse yet determined. It's driven by fear, by what we hide. We have to confront it, or we'll never escape. As if summoned by their fear, the creature shrieked, a different sound than before, an unholy mix of rage and anguish. It had been awakened, torn from whatever depths it resided in, and now it fed on their panic. Here, the stranger's voice cut through the chaos, a clear beacon piercing the tumult. He pointed through a narrow hallway that dipped into obscurity. There's a storeroom. We can barricade it. We'll have a moment to think. Just trust me. With no other option visible, Tony and Maria took off down the narrow corridor, panic propelling them forward. The darkness thickened, each shuddering breath mixing uneasily with their racing hearts. They reached the storeroom, and with a shared sense of urgency, they pushed the heavy door shut, slamming it into place with a shuddering thud. The sound rang ominously, but the growls of the creature echoed louder, pulsating against the very walls. This won't hold long. Maria gasped, her chest heaving. Then we need to act. Tony's voice deepened in resolve. Talking now isn't enough. We have to uncover our truths. What do we have to offer? The stranger looked at Maria, then to Tony, a flicker of understanding igniting. Secrets hold power over fear. Whatever this creature is after, it's connected to your past. You need to open up. It can sense your silence. Tony felt his heart race. But what if facing it is worse than hiding? A moment hung in the air, thick and heavy, before the stranger replied, "Real freedom comes when we confront our fears. Only what we do in this darkness will lead us to light the locket. It's a pathway back to truth. You must share your secrets. Let it go." The growls intensified outside, a stark reminder that time was slipping away. "Okay," Maria whispered, trembling but resolute. "I'll go first." She sucked in a deep breath, grounding herself against the weight of vulnerability that settled in her stomach. "I've always feared that I'd never be enough, that I'd fail everyone who depended on me." Her voice wavered, but her eyes glimmered with courage. "After my father died, I left home without facing my grief. I pushed everyone away. Feels like I've been running from myself." Tears pooled, but she held her ground. Her confession felt liberating, a crack of light breaking through the heavy dark. Tony's heart raced, feeling the weight lift from her shoulders. "You're not alone. I fear rejection more than anything. Growing up, I saw friends leave as their lives unfolded, and I always kept mine small, so they wouldn't drift away." He gulped, fighting back his own tears. "But it only made me feel more distant." The air shifted, heavy with the influence of their buried truths. It was as if they had sparked something. Within that moment of raw honesty, the growls softened, lingering shadows receding like a tide pulling back from the shore. "Now," the stranger urged, "you need to push deeper. It's not just about fear. What is this creature truly after?" "We didn't know what it meant to trust, to be vulnerable," Maria admitted, voice firm. "When we shut everyone out, we locked away our voices." "I've hidden," Tony said, realizing. "Hidden from memories of the past, believing it would protect me. But it only suffocates. Secrets can't stay buried without consequences." A deafening crash rattled the door, shaking them back to their situation. But this time they felt different, more connected to their truths, stronger in their unity. "It's time to confront it head-on," Maria insisted, newfound determination blazing brightly in her eyes. "We aren't the only ones struggling here. It wants us to confront what we've lost." With a cry of defiance, Tony shoved back the heavy door just enough to peer out. The creature, still monstrous and wild, squirmed with uncanny frustration, sensing their resolve. "Show us your truth," Tony shouted with fervor, fueled by everything they had just shared. The creature hesitated, caught off guard as the air shifted, emotions spilling into the space like colors breaking through haze. Something flickered in the depths of its eyes. Recognition, yearning, or something deeper still. "It's something it lost," the stranger murmured. "Searching for what was once loved. It knows your fears, your pasts, and perhaps it shares the same wounds." With a gasp, they realized what they needed to do. "We must let it know we're willing to accept all our truths. But we have to believe in it ourselves." Maria shouted. "If we can unite our fears, we might give it what it has sought for so long." Tony added, but his voice trembled with uncertainty. "Can we do that?" "Yes." The stranger placed a hand on Tony's shoulder. "Together you can break the cycle." They all reached out together, their voices merging in a desperate yet powerful chorus. "We are here. We acknowledge you. Below these layers of fear lies strength, understanding, and acceptance." As the dim light flickered, they felt the creature recoil, not from fear but confusion caught between hostility and the undeniable purity of vulnerability. In that moment, it was as if the shadows peeled back, revealing what had long been hidden, and then a voice ancient and sorrowful rose in response from the depths of its being. "Lost, forgotten. Can you truly see me? Can you hear the cries of the forsaken?" "Yes," they shouted, voices steady now, an anthem of unity brimming with empathy. We see you, and we honor what you've endured. Their collective resolution washed over the room like a cleansing tide. A moment of overwhelming clarity blazed bright, illuminating the truth buried beneath fear. With a final howl, the creature flickered like a candle struggling against chaos. Then, it dissolved before them, a wisp of shadow evaporating into the night as wisdom surged where pain had once ruled, leaving peace in its wake. In the silence following the storm, they collapsed together, breathing heavily, hearts pounding but grounded in the newfound reality. As the weight of their shared truths lingered, they realized they had not only faced the monster but paved a path towards healing alongside it. And despite the horrific trials they endured, what lay before them now was not just survival, but a chance to embrace their stories, their truths, and the connection that transformed them forever. As dawn approached, light peeking hesitantly over the horizon, they stood together, hands clasped, stronger than before. Together, we can face anything, Maria whispered, and they all nodded, hearts finally beating as one. Now, as you've witnessed this incredible journey, this is the moment you need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on exclusive stories just like this. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and let others discover this powerful tale. Flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories. What did you think of the ending? Join this community and instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Every little action shows your support, so don't wait even one more second to share.